Okay, Tuesday, June 20th, 2022, Lviv, Ukraine, heading to the gym. I guess, what we'll talk about today is this spring offensive and situation in Kherson. So, it's become quite, it was obvious before, but it's more obvious, like the how now has become more obvious, that the dam in Kherson was blown. It was like a Hoover Dam type of thing. You couldn't just like bomb it from the outside. You had to have had control of it, which the Russians did, and then you had to place the explosives inside to get that effect. And so there's plenty of evidence for that. I mean, everyone knew they did it. Everyone was wondering how they did it. But what happened is they flooded out, I guess, the region, right, making it harder for the Ukrainians to advance. And I mean, they're Russians, they don't care. Everyone's saying, oh, how could the Russians do that? Because a lot of Russian soldiers were downstream and were also affected by this. And I think many of them even died or were put in a very uncomfortable position. I don't have the exact date on that, but they're Russians. I mean, they're shooting their own soldiers in the back who want to retreat. So, they have soldiers who are fighting them, they have soldiers standing behind them, making sure they can't retreat. I mean, this is like a classic, this is their MO. This is how they do it. They don't have, leadership and people fighting with a purpose and a cause. They have conscripts and prisoners and, what have you, and all the people who, I'm sure you have some in their ranks that are really capable and believe, and drank the Kool-Aid. But a lot of them are gone. And then they don't know how to lead. They don't know how to manage. Russian management style is very different than, American and Western European management style. That's for sure. It's definitely not a decentralized, trust-based system, where, like when we were in the U.S. military, we were given an objective, and if we were cut off from command, we still knew how to carry out the mission. And then we had non-commissioned officers, who could lead and shore things up and make decisions, as well. That's not really the case with the Russian military. Everything is a call to the Kremlin. Should we do this? Shouldn't we do this? What do we do next? They can't even get their airplanes to talk to the soldiers on the ground. That's been very difficult for them to do for whatever reason. And that's something the Americans have been able to do since even World War II, if not earlier, to, coordinate air. I think the Russians can do it to some degree, but I think they just have so many organizational issues because of all the corruption inside their army. It was, if you're wondering how all those Russian guys got those yachts and expensive sports cars and everything, they were just robbing the system. They weren't creating some innovative products or services or something. They sure as hell didn't build Microsoft and, and sell it out to the market. So anyway, my view is like, what I'm more worried about now is the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhzhia. Now it's something very concerning for us. Obviously, we could be downwind from that if the thing melts down or they blow it up or something, the fallout. It won't be like a nuclear explosion, but just as bad as the fallout, it goes into the food chain. This radioactive material goes into the soil, it goes into the plants, and then you get all these cancers and, other health issues for the next 2 or 3 generations. This is concerning. Now, it's my understanding, I've been doing a lot of research on this, that the International Atomic Energy Agency is actually on site, in Zaporizhzhia, and the plant is in shutdown. So, but I'm not sure how I guess they can secure the coolant. The worst thing that can happen in a nuclear power plant is the loss of coolant. All the water leaking out, because the water is what, keeps the reaction stable. it slows the neutrons down. You know, what's happening is you got neutrons hitting each other and creating energy, and the water moderates that pace to a sustainable level. So if you take the water out, then the rate of neutrons being born far exceeds the ones that are dying, and then you get this you get an explosion, you know, unfortunately. Or what can happen too is the water in the vessel superheats and can explode the vessel, and then you blow up all this radioactive matter into the atmosphere. And I mean, this is what happened in Fukushima in Japan with the earthquake. It's just it was a disaster. So they also have spent fuel, and I'm not sure how they're storing it, but that's usually stored in the water as well, and it's depleted. So I think that would just melt. I don't know if what would happen. That would just melt into like a massive garbage, hot garbage that it would be difficult to manage, but maybe it would be contained in that area. I really would like to get more information on the situation there, and I'm surprised CNN and they're not updating us daily on this, because it is concerning. And I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe the U.S. has to send Blackwater or some, I mean, just overtly take the plant and secure it. You know, it's yeah, because that could wreck a lot of things. That could wreck you know, if the food production in that area is pretty key to the world, and you know, it's just crazy what they're doing. So I mean, and then the Russians, I understand, were trying to shell the people from the IAEA. You know, I saw pictures of them wearing bulletproof vests and helmets and what have you, and they were making it really. They said, yeah, you can come to the power plant, but then they were making it really hard for them. You know, targeting them and what have you, and then just tell them, oh, it's at your own risk. You're in a war zone, but it's just stupid. You know, but yeah, I think this whole situation has definitely made things more difficult, and I think what they want to do is block some access routes to Crimea. You know, create a new river, because Ukrainians really don't have this riverine and amphibious warfare down. You know, they're still like a land army. You know, like a classical land army, to, you know, get people on boats and cover them with air. It makes things harder. It's not impossible. I'm sure they can do it if they put their mind to it, but it just makes things more difficult. It's like why the Russians did it, right? They wanted to slow down the advance of the Ukrainians. So I saw an article too, like the 6 ways this war could end, and I think a few of the projections were a long, slow Korean War style grind, and I think that's where it's going. You know, unless they can get the F-16s here tomorrow, that looks like it's 18 months out. You know, it's I mean, they're talking about it, it's headlines in the news, but when you read the fine print, you know, that looks like it's further down the line. And then, you know, getting more heavy equipment, you know, modern tanks, Leopards and what have you, there's just not enough of them. They need like hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands of factories and repair facilities, and, you know, tons of ammunition. So all the gains that are going to come, they're going to be hard fought. It's going to all be in slow motion. You know, just like it has been this whole time. It's been so surreal. You know, so yeah, those are the thoughts about what's going on, you know, and everything. So, yeah, it keeps you up every day. You know, you're really thinking like, you know, is it time to start thinking about moving and everything? But it's hard. It's hard to leave your, you know, you built a home here, you built a life, you got all your friends, you know, but nuclear, I think nuclear is my limit. You know, I studied nuclear engineering. I understand how all this stuff works, you know, more than I really like to. And if they don't get that under control over there, And as I understand, like Ukrainian reactors are moderated with graphite. They're much more risky design than Western reactors that have more of these fail safes in place. They've already calculated for loss of coolant, and they have mechanisms, and they have backups and all of this in place. Because they think about safety first in their design. And these Soviet era reactors, they thought about performance first. And that's what happened at Chernobyl. They had a graphite moderated core, and yeah, that was no good. So yeah, I just hope that the people in the Russian inner circle figure this out, that everything they're doing is going to lead to the end of Russian civilization as we know it. The whole world is turned against them. Even the Chinese are not crazy about this, because they know that it's woken up the Americans, and now policy is changing, and it's forcing companies to reshore or put business in offshore companies. They know now that it's all this free money from the West. It's peaked, and the tide and the pendulum is swinging. And even the most liberal Democrats in America know this now, that you have to bring things on shore, and you have to suck it up. They all know that we're going back into a Cold War economy, and they benefited from all of this, from all this offshoring. But now it's like all the semiconductors, everything, all this technology that can be used for the military has to come back to the U.S. or back to allied countries. And they're a little bit mad at the Russians, I guess, for stirring the pot too early. They probably needed another 50 years before they could really grab us by before they could really make their move. They needed another generation probably, and now it's kind of screwed up their plans in a way. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I got. I'm trying to keep these videos a bit shorter. I'm almost at the gym, so take care.